Hey folks, it's us, podcasting wonderkins John Bishop and Lucas Southworth.
Although this is a podcast about cars, it is not age appropriate for the target demographic of these films, as we usually end up talking about the reproductive organs of Lightning McQueen.
Alright, now let's take a look under the hood. Hello and welcome to the Ka-Chat. It's the only podcast brave enough to ask the question, hey, what's up with cars? I'm Lucas Southworth.
And I'm John Bishop, and I attempted a cold open, and it was hot.
Yeah, I'm not going to keep it in, though. It has nothing to do with anything.
Lucas, I gave you a chance to copy my theme, and speaking of hot...
Because we watched Planes, Fire, and Rescue.
There you go.
No, we got it. I understand. We did watch Planes, Fire, and Rescue, though, which, John, don't worry. I do get the urge not to talk about the movie Planes, Fire, and Rescue. I feel it deeply right now.
All right. Since Lucas is not going to let me get out of this by sparking discussions, okay, let's start at the best place to start, which is, of course, the middle.
Sure.
Now, why would I want to start at the middle, Lucas?
It's the hottest part of the fire.
Is it?
Probably.
No, it's not.
Really? The middle, the center of a fire isn't the hot part?
The center? See, for some reason, when you say middle, I assume you mean from the origin to the tip in the middle of that area. But it's like the center.
Yeah.
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 All right. So, depending on how you define center, yes.
Yes.
Well, that is, of course, because I was writing my notes on my text option to you, and then I had to send you a text for the time, so I had to screen capture those notes and then write the rest of my notes afterwards.
Why don't you just go to the first picture?
Well, I've had enough time to do that because I'm good at stalling.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then, probably.
I mean, that makes sense.
Folks, if you can't tell, at least me, I'm assuming John also didn't like Planes, Fire, and Rescue the second time.
I am still of the opinion it's better than Cars 2.
I don't know about Cars 2. It's better than Planes. It is, I can say with confidence, full-throated, it's better than the original Planes, but that's not much of an accomplishment. So yeah, John, start at the beginning. What did you notice on your rewatch of Planes, Fire, and Rescue, this episode 100 and, 22? 23,
Sounds right.
Maybe?
Well, first thing I've got written down here is Rusty's TB taint.
Because Mayday, the firefighter in Propwash Junction, does use Rusty's. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He uses Rusty's for his condition, which he heard TV and assumed someone was talking about his disease. So I don't know what that would be other than like TB, which is tuberculosis, which is a lung condition.
Yeah.
So why would he show someone his taint?
I would argue that's evidence that it wasn't tuberculosis.
See, that's what I'm saying, but like, do you know of another disease that is TB that is associated with the taint?
Maybe he thought it was TB, but I also have a note about this little bit. He mentioned he not only had rust, but blisters. So maybe TB stands for taint blisters. We're off to the races, folks.
All right, you heard it here. TB in the Cars world is taint blisters.
Wouldn't rust just be blisters?
I would imagine.
But he mentions
blisters
both.
Blisters, I think there's like an implication of there being some pus Whereas I imagine that rust is more like scabs.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, I do kind of I see what you're saying.
All right, so Rusty's TB tanked, and then of course, I think maybe his muffler falls off.
Something does, and that's not great. I mean, it's established that rust just makes stuff fall off. Famously from our guy from Cars. I want to say Fred because he's got a name tag that says, "Hi, my name is Fred." But maybe it's not Fred. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. But then when people call him Fred, he reacts by saying, "They know my name."
It's pretty good. Pretty good gag from Cars 1, not from
Mm-hmm.
Planes Fire and Rescue, though, unfortunately.
But Planes Fire and Rescue does, of course, give us our second example of a character who is overly comfortable showing off his taint.
I would say maybe it's just more of a societal norm, but everyone always reacts very poorly to it, understandably, if we go by our societal norms. So, yeah, I guess they're just two perverts.
And as we have learned over the past 10 years of society just generally improving in the way that it is exposing more and more monsters,
Yeah,
old men are just weirdly comfortable being gross perverts.
that's true. Also, lots of young men, too.
Yes, yes. Of course. Can't forget the young men.
Can't forget the young men.
And I'm just going to say this in the interest of fairness. There are also young and old women who are also comfortable being perverts.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, my first note is a little before yours, but that's okay. I want to talk about Dusty signing autographs by taking his wheel and creating skid marks on other beings.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do that for a few reasons, John.
Because could you imagine someone's like, hey, can you sign, I don't know, my baby? And he just straight up grinds that baby's face.
Yeah, it can't feel good. You know, it just can't. It reminds me of our friend from high school who had that skin condition.
Good old Sam?
Yeah, Sam, where if you scratched or slapped his skin within like a few minutes, it would rise up so he could like write his name on his skin by like just scratching with his fingernail.
Or in some sort of fever pitch, I don't know what's going on in his head. Spend like an hour one night just carving an entire book into his skin.
Yeah, he's a wild guy. But yeah, it reminded me of that. So that's my first issue with his method is, gosh, that's gotta hurt to drag your wheel with enough force to make a skid mark, and it wouldn't skid unless it was locked in place, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, that is okay. So a skid mark is either a burn on the area or something similar, leftover residue from the tire.
yeah, so it's not like the wheel is rolling over them is basically what I'm saying, which would be at least a little better.
Mm-hmm.
It is dragging against them in a way similar enough to other instances we have seen cause pain to know it's gotta hurt.
I mean, you'd say that, but in Planes, Fire and Rescue,
True.
we have so many examples of these people genuinely do not feel parts of their body.
Yeah.
Why does he have to have an alarm on his body that shows him that, hey, you're redlining? He's essentially experiencing heart failure, and the only way he would know is from what's happening outside of anything he's feeling. His engine stalls, he has ground flakes shooting through his body, and the thing that he needs is an alarm.
I also, this is a bit of a
the horn part.
No, just real quick, I have an issue with the alarm light because it seems very redundant.
Mm-hmm.
When he's just not supposed to go into like the red area of
Mhm.
his torque. Like, they already had a very effective way, like a color coded dial that shows how like hard he's pushing his body, and it
Mhm.
had a red section. So why did we?
Basically, it's like, hey, stop sprinting. You know when you're sprinting. You
And
just
like,
know.
even if he doesn't physically know, he already has an indicator that
Mhm.
tells him he doesn't need a second one. But I guess apparently he does. Uh,
A second and a third one because it's a visual and audio cue
yes,
on top
yes,
of another visual cue on top of him knowing what he's doing.
yeah. I don't know. It just felt weird.
Yeah.
Uh,
Of course, the horn fart is Mayday is getting upgraded, and he's like, "Oh, listen to my new siren," and then he proceeds to make like weird, almost pseudo fart noises for a bit, and they're like, "Yeah, I haven't installed the siren yet," so he has no idea. Like, he can't feel it, I guess. So that's there are just so many things where it's like, yeah, I added or removed this part to you, and you didn't feel it, and you don't know how to use it. Like, even the wheels on the pontoons. He's like, you gotta pop the wheels. He didn't know he had wheels now?
yeah, I don't know. I do want to sort of circle the bit about Mayday there and come back to it in a section I'm tentatively titling in my head. Mayday is not good at his job, and the safety inspectors were absolutely right. But we'll come back to that.
I too felt that very strongly.
Yeah, just one last point about the skid marks. Not only does it seem very, very painful way to just put a D on somebody, it's very, very impermanent too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's impermanent in the same way like signing someone's arm with a sharpie is, and I guess that's not too different. But I don't know. The pain factor makes it seem worse that it's not permanent.
Yeah. Let's go to next note. Aston Martin.
Yeah, they did a fun little joke where they said, I don't know, kick your Aston Martin or something like that. Pain in the
Mm-hmm.
Aston Martin.
Pain in the Aston Martin.
It's fine.
So, sure, Aston Martin. That's a funny little reference. Only if you know what an ass is.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's true. Both you would need to know what a butt is, a butt ass, and know like a donkey ass as well, I guess.
And neither of those are a thing.
As far as we know, maybe this is evidence that they are though.
Which one, though? Are asses or are asses?
Well, if donkeys are real, they would have asses. So if one is real, they
And
both
we do
could
know
be.
bears are real, and bears have asses.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
But here's
Uh,
the thing when we think of ass in the butt sense, we think of human ass, or maybe ape ass. And that is because we have, like, obnoxiously large posteriors because of the way we're biologically designed to walk and run.
yes,
Now, a lot of other creatures, like bears, like uh, donkey, not going to have that same ass.
and that's a real shame.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the joke I'm going with. Yeah, I would say my actual theory about it is that for some reason Aston Martin, like, what, that's a car manufacturer, right? Like a luxury car.
I believe so.
I imagine they have just a similar relationship or like perception of donkeys, I guess. Is how I would explain it. So ass never became a curse word. It was just always Aston Martin.
Okay. So it was just always pain in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue very
Because
well. Like
Aston Martins, those guys are just real jerks.
Aston Martin hole, Jack Aston Martin, smart Aston Martin. It doesn't work very well, but that's not really my problem.
Big Aston Martin fans.
Yeah, that's a company. Where all my Lexington fans at? Uh, okay, my next one. I have terrible news, John. Soccer exists.
You weren't kidding.
No, did you?
Terrible, terrible news.
Yeah, did you notice it? It was just on one of the TVs in honkers in the background.
I didn't notice it, probably because I was too focused or fixated on the toxic masculinity of them being jerks about a guy getting a fruity drink.
Yeah, they sort of front load that one with a lot of weird car puns and jokes. That little
Mm-hmm.
scene in the honkers, which is, if you don't remember, makes sense that you don't. Uh, it's Hooters, but for cars.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that also exists, but we've covered that, so we're gonna focus on soccer, I guess. Yeah, and the scene where they're in a bar, which on its own is wild that they're in a bar. On a TV in the background are a bunch of cars playing soccer. And it's only on for a few seconds that I noticed, so I couldn't tell you a lot of details about it. But yeah, it doesn't even look that different. There's it
Now,
looks
can
like
we be absolutely sure it wasn't instead an esport known as Rocket League?
I guess we can't. Well, let me see when Rocket League came. No, it was definitely out by that point. Yeah, because it was out while we were in college. But I guess we can't be sure. But it's sure there were no like cool boosts and flips that I've never been able to do in Rocket League. Uh, it was just it was very boring. Like I already think if you like soccer, great, but I already think soccer looks pretty boring. But cars, they don't even kick it; they just run into the ball, and they were all very bad at it. It seemed, and the ball it had to have been bigger than a normal ball, but it seemed smaller proportionately compared to the cars. Like,
Okay, so it wasn't a Rocket League sized ball.
no, it was not. It was a very small ball, and it just seemed like it would be very hard to do anything soccer y. Like, I don't know how you would control where the ball goes very well if you're driving a car at it. But like with a Rocket League sized ball, that makes sense. You can aim at it and it goes different ways. Again, I've never been able to control where the ball goes in Rocket League, but I've seen people who are very good and can do that. But if the ball's very small, I just don't get how that works, which may explain why it seemed very low speed and like they were being very careful, which was funny to me. But yeah, soccer exists. Sorry, everybody.
Okay, I'm going to take it just a little bit back.
Yeah, yeah,
We've talked about it. I'm positive.
for sure.
He's out of production.
Yeah.
His gearbox. They just decided that he's no longer allowed to continue living as soon as he breaks.
Yeah, it's the same problem with the lemons, ain't it?
Yep. It's just the idea that in this world, they just stop making parts that make you go. And they made it weirdly clear in this one that your mechanical bits are a part of keeping you alive. Because on multiple occasions, people were rushed into emergency surgery, and the only things listed were like their mechanical bits needing to be fixed. And it was clear that they were risking dying without those mechanical bits.
Yeah, I mean, this. I remember this blew our minds the first time we watched Planes Fire and Rescue, but it shows us inside Dusty.
Yep.
Like, when he has his first mechanical failure, we do a little inside tour of his engine. Uh, and I would say that one scene is our biggest hit against Squishy Bit Theory, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I still believe in it wholeheartedly, but the anti Squishy Bit folks out there, I'm
They're
sure that's
really going
what.
to take that and they're going to run with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm
And
saying.
also, we saw inside of Blade.
We did, yeah. He opens up his door and you can see all the way through it.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention Lifter
Well,
without his, whole tank is just a shell of a helicopter.
all right. So we've seen inside people, and it's just deeply upsetting to consider the fact that you just are out of production at some point, and that's just them deciding that you're going to die. It's like anyone who advocates for we shouldn't research prolonging life, we shouldn't research reversing or ending aging. because it's natural to die. And like, what are you talking about? We could just stop aging. And then if we did that, people would still die of things like accidents and whatnot, but we would stop, progressively degenerating. And that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. Just it's hard to reconcile with just the production of parts. Period.
Hmm.
Uh, like I don't have a good way of explaining it in universe other than saying, yeah, it's pretty dystopian. I guess the Cars verse is just pretty dystopian.
Yep, 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 yep. And everyone just accepts it.
They sure do. Are we ready for the section I tentatively titled Mayday is bad at his job and the safety inspectors were right to shut down the airport?
Before we do that,
Okay.
let's just talk about how Dusty gets frustrated, and then this professional flyer proceeds to distracted flying incident crash into a bunch of things and never receives any sort of reprimand.
Yeah,
He should be arrested for causing, I have to assume, at least tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage.
he does blow up part of an airport. Yeah.
Hmm. And he admits to having been responsible to higher authorities, and nothing comes of it except for he's made a firefighter. And even worse, continuing that theme throughout the movie, near like by the end, you find out, okay, so he goes through his training, uh, basically hides the fact that he's got a health issue that will prevent him from doing his duty, that is shown several times to prevent him from being able to do his duty. He disobeys orders many, many times during training. And the one order that he follows is an order that he issues himself and begs someone else to let him complete. And then, because of his health issue, he crashes and then is made better than new. And after all that defiance and not listening to orders and not doing things the right way, they just certify him anyway.
Yeah. Not only does he issue the order at the end of the movie and cajole someone into letting him do it, the dangerous stunt he wants to do, that does end up saving lives, I guess. Uh,
Only because someone comes back from the edge of death to help save them.
that's very true. He does the person he cajoles into letting him do it is a temporary replacement leader of the group. Like he takes advantage of the fact that this is not their normal position. I don't know. Dusty sucks, man. Uh, but you know who
There are no
else?
good people in this movie.
Yeah,
If you want to argue that Blade is, sure, until you realize that, oh yeah, he let someone be certified despite the fact that they clearly disobeyed pretty much every order ever given by him. And he had to save his life multiple times because of said disobeying of rules.
I like the smoke jumpers. They're
Yeah,
cool.
but also they're borderline psychotic.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they're bad people. They're just crazy about safety and adrenaline. Uh,
It's the safety part I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
they use their obsession with adrenaline to save lives. How about that?
That is true.
Okay. Mayday can't do his job. It sucks because he's an old man, but he's very bad at being a firefighter.
Yeah, they just refuse to acknowledge that at a certain point you should no longer do a certain job, and
I would
he is
argue the
past
whole
that point.
movie rejects that idea,
Yeah,
which, yeah.
everyone refuses to acknowledge that there are things that prevent you from performing certain duties. And even if you've done something your entire life, at a certain point, you should stop doing it. And I would argue that that point is well past the point where we have regulations where you need to receive routine check ins and assessments, and you just don't do that.
Yeah, like,
The big mean jerk comes in and he's like, "Hey, can you give me your records on all of the reports that you have to have done and all of the assessments you need?" And he just kind of stutters through the, well, I didn't exactly have time. then you're not suited for this job anymore.
Yeah, like bureaucracy and like whatnot can suck, but for like life-saving organizations that have to run like clockwork, like a firehouse.
And it's treated like a bad thing that they need to find another person and hire another person. And instead of doing the right thing and hiring another person, Dusty's just going to do it. The guy who, through his irresponsibility, caused the incident. And also now has a heart condition that will prevent him from physical exertion to a certain point. All of this is bad.
Yeah.
And say what you will, you can't just put new equipment on an older gentleman and that solve everything. If he is a firefighter and his body is no longer capable and his mind is no longer capable of performing his duties to the standard it needs to do it, giving him a better hose will help but not solve the issue.
Especially when like sure the equipment also your argument about how the equipment doesn't say like change everything is absolutely right, but also giving him a second firefighter doesn't solve anything when he also is going to continue being a like world renowned racing plane who's gone all the time.
He said, as long as the new boss will give me a day off, and the man's response is, anytime. That's not how that's supposed to work.
You're the fire crew for an airport. That's so important. Also, if there's a fire on the runway and Dusty's on the ground, how does he get in the air to fight the fire?
Excellent question. He'll do what he did in the movie and just fly illegally.
Yeah.
He took off from a road illegally.
At that point, why not just illegally take off from the runway?
Because that would be illegal. And he has to hide his illegal activities.
Anyway, on a lighter note, Mayday and Sarge know each other, apparently. Sarge is in a picture on Mayday's wall. I don't know what that tells us. Might just be another World War II era Jeep, but I imagine it was put intentionally there to be Sarge, you know?
Yeah. Instead of broaching that subject, I want to talk about art.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. So there are two forms of artistic expression in this film, at least, that just have me wondering. Well, three obvious ones. One, I think the first one that I got just struck by. She just finished making her corn cob costume. She did that herself.
I mean, you know I'm obsessed with Kate the Corn Cob Girl, man.
Kate the Corn Cob Girl made the dang suit herself.
I've got her here right now. I'm looking at her costume. You can even see the zipper in it. How'd she put that zipper in there?
Lucas, how would you describe something that a non-professional were to make with limited tools and something like homemade? Another term for that.
Amateur?
I don't know how to get you there easily.
Yeah.
I would describe it typically as like a handmade.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Now, we see several examples of things being done in a way that try to explain away, oh, they don't need hands. He signs with his tire. He presses the button on the microphone with his tire. The parachutes have a ripcord that's just built into the plane, so when they move backwards, it's pulled out. Sure. How does she stitch this costume?
And like,
even if it's machine stitched, you need hands to use the machine.
Yeah, machine's not doing everything for you. Trust me, I took a costume construction class in college and I was very bad at it. And like something as big as a costume for a plane.
Mm-hmm. And something as specifically shaped and sized. It's just, and something that looks that good.
Yeah, she did a phenomenal job. She's a cosplayer,
Mm-hmm. Which brings me to, I'm just going to throw this out there. There's an ice sculpture.
Yes.
Sure. And also, good old Tug, he he did all the drawings himself.
Didn't catch that. Yeah. At
I
least,
did the drawings myself.
well, Chug has gas filling pump thing
Mm-hmm.
that's basically an arm. He is the gas
It's
truck that has the closest thing to an arm besides maybe Mater's hook.
it's almost a finger.
And of course, besides the forklifts that are everywhere. But
Yeah.
his is even more, seems even more maneuverable than the forklifts, which are our
Mm-hmm.
usual explanation. So I could see Chug, that one, sure. Like, I would love to have seen the deleted scene of him drawing those things, because, I don't know,
Absolutely.
would have been
Uh,
great.
how does he pick up the markers?
He just puts them, he flips a switch that turns it from spit out gas to suck up, and he just sucks it up right into the tube. And
Yep.
it's the perfect size that it gets lodged in there. It has like a little thing that causes it to stop right where it goes, and when he's done, he just turns the suction off, or hell, maybe he just blows some gas out and it gets right out of there.
Okay. We don't have enough time to talk about all of these things. I'm
Yeah.
just going to throw this out there. Chug also clearly has a substance problem because he should not be drinking plain fuel,
No.
but he takes a sip every morning just to get him going.
Yeah, and he frames it as like to protect you, Dusty, but I don't know. I don't know what that would do.
Not good things.
Yeah, I don't know how that protects Dusty either. I don't think you would
Well,
notice.
if it kills him,
Yeah.
then it won't kill Dusty.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing.
He's appointed him uh his taste tester.
Yeah. Let's see. We talked about taking off on the highway. Real quick, speaking of the ice sculpture of the fuselage, again, a pretty solid joke. I think we
Mhm.
mentioned it last time. I appreciated it. In the evacuation scene, a car has it strapped to the top of their car themselves,
Mhm.
and I couldn't decide if it was funnier to me if, okay, we're skipping ahead in the movie. We'll come back. This is we're in the big forest fire. You get it. They're
Mhm.
evacuating. I couldn't decide if it was funnier to me if the car thought, "Oh no, this beautiful ice sculpture, I have to save it," or there's a fire out there. I know what will protect me. If I strap a giant ice sculpture to the top of myself, this will, I don't know, melt and put out the fire around me. Uh, I don't know.
I mean, it worked for the sprinkler system and the fuselage.
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think that car was doing? You think he was rescuing it, or he was using it to rescue himself?
I think it could easily go either way.
Yeah,
I choose to believe it was, I don't want to get too hot.
yeah, I think it works. And if that was their intentional joke, I'll say maybe one of my favorite jokes in the Cars series.
It's just very unfortunate we have to preface it with that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that makes it so much less impactful.
And I think there's a solid chance it was intentional. I'll give them that credit as well. The fact that
Mhm.
I can't say for sure does detract from it, though. You're absolutely right. Hey, John, you know how
Yeah.
this is a movie for children?
Mhm.
Why'd they do a Chips parody? An extended one? A parody
Um,
of the show Chips that is even before my time.
for the same reason, they did a Best Little Whorehouse in Texas joke.
And for the same reason they did a Howard the Duck joke, I guess, too, now that we're at it.
Because they want to include jokes for parents, but they don't have the decency to make them subtle, and they don't have the decency to make the rest of the movie like easy to tolerate.
At least Boat Reynolds and Howard the Truck were like short, you know? Chops is extended. There's an extended sequence where they do a parody of the show Chips in
Well,
this.
they do, of course, have to explain that everyone had a second job, and the two cool people were, of course, famous and I guess hot.
The show was on in 1977. From
Yeah, but because he was
1977 to
on it,
1983.
he was worthy of respect
Sure.
because that's how people in Hollywood and the industry view things. They are the ones that are most worthy of being the main characters.
Mm.
So anyone who's a hero must clearly have been an actor or in the industry at some point.
I guess. Really quick, I'll let you get to your next note after this. But while we're on the Chips parody, during Chops, was that just Mia and Tia? Or were they just two other red car twins?
It was just two other red car twins.
Okay, we're certain about that?
I'm not certain that they weren't voiced by the same actresses.
Great.
But I'm nearly positive they were just a haha, like Mia and Tia.
I guess this universe and the creators of it, when they're like, we need like a sexy car. What's sexy? Red. Small? Twins. And they're like, we got
twins.
it. We got it, baby. These guys. These children are gonna understand. These are sexy cars.
Because if there's one thing that kids think of as sexy, it's stop. Why are you thinking this?
Cool. I just wanted to make sure that because I sort of zoned out during Chops, I'll be level with you. And then at the end, there were two red cars who were twins, and I thought, is that? And then the scene ended, and God knows I wasn't going to rewind it. So I just wanted to check. But you go ahead with your next note.
I distinctly remember seeing it and thinking, why are they so much like Mia and Tia?
Great. Okay, at least we're on the same page.
All right. So, two things. Both of these are about a character whose name I refuse to remember.
Great.
She is, of course, the character who is clearly a stalker.
Unfortunately, I remember her name. It's Dipper.
Yeah. So Chipper, she in first time you see her is, of course, tanning. She is a car.
Yep.
That is tanning.
She sure is. You're right. I have that written down as well. I don't know, man. She was. Well, unfortunately, she is a plane that is tanning. That's what's wrong about the statement you said, and not the fact that she was tanning and is a vehicle.
All right. So the second thing that was incorrect about it is she wasn't tanning. She was doing what people do when they are tanning. Flipper, of course, is a plane and was attempting to, I guess, tan. But there's no, like, change to the coloration because it's paint.
If anything, that would wash out the paint, wouldn't it?
Like,
if you leave a painted thing out in the sun for a long time, it gets diluted.
So what is that? Are we supposed to, like, okay, so a lot of times in film, that will used to be like a showing off of the woman.
Yeah.
Is that what this is supposed to be?
I guess. I just couldn't decide how they wanted us to feel about Dipper.
I know, because it didn't make sense. Because they equal parts make her flirtatious and fun and also super creepy.
Yeah, let me tell you, I was not confused about how I felt about Dipper. I hated Dipper. She sucks so much. But the show seemed to be like, ooh, she's a little quirky, but she likes our main character. And I was like, no, she's awful to him.
She does a little bit of hero worship, and then as soon as she feels like she has any amount of power over him, she starts getting very unhealthy very fast. She wants to watch him sleep. She isn't comfortable with him deciding to take other people that are her friends. She dismisses him when she assumes he's trying to argue with her. It's so uncomfortable, so fast.
Yeah, I think the best example of it, and this is skipping ahead a lot in the movie as well, is they do. Dusty has a horrific crash at the end of the movie. Maru spends 5 full days repairing him. Uh,
And
and
and good old Skipper never leaves, which, if it were a healthy, actual relationship, is sweet.
yeah, and like even when I was watching it, I was like, okay, she's still creepy, but like at least it was a kind gesture. Like clearly the movie wants me to think what a good thing Dipper did when Blade or whoever was like, yeah, Dipper never left your side, and
Well,
then
Lucas,
yeah,
you'd
and then
you'd think that was supposed to be sweet. You'd think that. But then the movie lets you know, nope. We don't want you to think it's sweet. You want to tell them how that happened?
Di- Blade says Dipper never left your side for the five
Oh,
days you were out, and then Dipper immediately quickly enters the frame from a place you didn't expect her to be and says, I liked watching you sleep, and then creepily exits the frame.
they took that away immediately.
Yeah, like,
They had the short little sweet worrying montage of her looking concerned the entire time and days going by, and then she never left your side, and immediately they make it bad.
yeah, I don't know if it's just the creators are like aware they're making a kids movie, so they're like, ah, yeah, they'll think like, ah, girls suck. Yeah, this is what girls are when they like boys. I don't want any of that. But then why make her look so like down to earth concerned about him in the scene? Why take care in the montage of days passing to show her looking worried in a like human way, in a plain way, but you get it, in a not over the top way?
Yep. And you'll note several things about this character. So Chipper, when you first meet her, she insists that he has to be aware of the fact that she's Miss, not Mrs. Okay, that could be fun, flirty. It's upsetting to think that there's still the whole concept of uh, Mrs. and Misters, meaning belonging to the Mister, which is a terrible thing once you think about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and then there's that. Okay. And then she clearly is constantly pushing towards a relationship that he either isn't aware of or doesn't want. And she puts her arms around him, and she first thing she does, she insults him and says, I thought you'd be taller, but that's okay. Is she negging him?
I think she just straight up is. Yeah, I don't know. Dipper, I did not care. There are lots of characters I don't particularly care for in these movies. Dipper is close to the top of my list, man.
Because if she's negging him, we know it's successful because he becomes more aware of his height. As soon as he has any amount of work done, he gets those pontoons added, and then he gets the wheels out. And one of the first things he says is, oh, I'm tall. He's still shorter than her.
But yeah, yeah. In a world where like vehicles are as vastly different as they are compared to like the size difference in humans, you'd think like height would just be, I don't know, if not a concern, then at least a vastly different one. Like it
Mm-hmm.
would be talked about in a vastly different way. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, John. These are children's movies. Who would do a podcast about them? Why does the movie drop Secretary of the Interior? Like kids are gonna be like, "Ooh, the Secretary of the Interior's coming."
Now
Ooh,
that's a man with power.
yeah, that's a man I've heard of. A child.
Oh boy. And even even when the guy gets fired and then demoted and not arrested for the clear risking of people's lives for his own glory, uh, the other man getting his job, they use that title and it's like, oh yeah, as if kids know that a ranger is a demotion in comparison.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt they had a weird amount of emphasis on the Secretary of Interior, a position I barely care about as an adult man.
A
Uh,
position I'm sure I should care about,
for
but do
sure.
not.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's an unimportant position. I'm saying it's not like it's not even like Secretary of State, or of the
Hmm.
Treasury or of Defense. It's not even Secretary of Agriculture. Like at least I hear that and I understand what it is.
Yeah.
Like I know what the Secretary of Interior is because like it was featured in a video I watched a few months ago.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah,
I know what the Secretary of Interior is because of this movie.
because you looked it up or because you got the gist of it from this movie.
It's probably a combination of this and of Parks and Rec.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. It just felt weird to me, much like something else that felt weird because it's a kids movie that I mentioned earlier that I don't remember.
But yeah, uh, uh, Chipper's whole character, very unsettling.
Don't care for it, John. I don't care for it a bit. Hey,
All right. Coconuts on his what?
give me some more context. I don't know that I caught this one.
He even wore a grass skirt and coconuts on his.
Oh
And then he
no.
gets cut off. So
Yeah.
he gets distracted when he's telling him about the possibility of getting a gearbox. And then he gets cut off from talking about what the coconuts were on, and we never find out.
Okay. Yeah, you're right not to focus on grass skirt. Grass skirt could be on a car in a couple ways. It's kind of like that meme of the if a dog wore jeans, would it wear it like this or this?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. One of those ways, sure. But coconuts on his. That's more troubling, John.
Mm-hmm. Is it headlights? Because it shouldn't be. But also shouldn't it be? Because they may be sexual.
Yeah.
And it makes sense when you think of Mia and Tia doing the flashing.
Yeah, and honkers, like the the neon of it is of a car with its lights coming on and off. And
Mm-hmm.
like I guess that's sexy, I guess.
Oh yeah. People driving behind me flashing their lights. That gets me all riled up. True statement, it does. It just makes me very mad.
Yeah, it's like just do it pass me if you need to pass me. Don't be a dick about it. Uh, but yeah, I guess if he's just like at a party, it's fine if he puts some coconuts on his headlights, but I hope he didn't drive there or back with those on,
Yep.
especially if the party was at night.
Mm-hmm. Which is regarded as an extremely dangerous time to be traveling in this world, especially in this movie. And guess what? They just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And a part of that was Blade was out of service and he couldn't do anything. So the second in charge has to make the call. And who really influences that call? Good old Dusty.
I don't want to do an extended talk about how Windlifter makes me uncomfortable because we did that in our first episode, but it's still true.
Yep,
Uh,
agreed. Second official watch of this. Windlifter makes us both very uncomfortable.
yeah, it's just very clear they did not actually talk to anyone who's Native American about it. But that's, like I said, don't want to talk about it this time. So instead, uh, did you notice that Harvey, the RV, used to be a taco truck?
I did not. I
He,
did note that his wife gained quite a bit of weight, she noted.
huh.
She
Well,
said that was, I don't even know, like that was 10 years ago and about 100 some odd pounds lighter. And I'm just thinking, how did you gain weight?
oof,
You're a
you're an
fixed
RV. Yeah.
shape and size.
Well, okay, let's talk about those as a tandem, since those two are always attached at the axle. Uh, maybe it's not a fixed thing if the RV used to be a taco truck, as he mentioned.
Okay, but did she also used to be? Because she used to be a model for
Yeah.
him when he was a salesman.
Yeah, he said he was a tire salesman and she was his floor model.
Which had
And
me so confused because for a second I was thinking, well, a floor model uh, is an actual thing, but it's a demonstration of the product. Like a floor model vehicle is a vehicle that you're trying to sell, but like you don't want to sell the floor model, you want to sell a car that is displayed, that like the floor model is displaying the car.
yeah, but it makes sense for the Cars verse that they would just combine the terms, To me at
Okay.
least. To me at least. I don't know. I think my definition of what makes sense in relation to these movies has been mutated to a degree
Out
that
of necessity.
yeah, no, it's a self-defense mechanism
Mhm.
almost, I would say. But okay. Did he if he's a taco truck, I know sometimes with these we just read our notes and say that was weird and then sort of move on, but I do want to figure out how the RV used to be a taco truck. Did he
I
just
mean, same thing with Dusty Crop Hopper. They
yeah,
just converted it.
yeah, I guess. That seems extensive.
Hmm.
Seems like a lot.
I would have to imagine.
Yeah, I guess he just used to have a hole in the side of him. And
And the whole interior of him was for making taco. How does he sell it and how does he make it and how does he get it out?
yeah,
Was there a little man inside of him? Could have
I
been a fork truck, but still.
I guess a forklift could fit inside him. I guess. I guess. I don't know. Just why have there been two movies with taco trucks in them? As Cars 2 and Planes 2 have taco trucks. Stop it.
There are plenty of examples of, in like at least extra media of ice cream trucks.
That's true. Yeah, okay. I don't know, man. I don't like it. That's my
Food
official
service
stance.
trucks are just a thing, and we have to accept that, but we don't know how, so we need an episode on it.
Yeah, honest to God, I'm kind of surprised we haven't done an episode on it. Coming soon, probably.
I mean,
Uh,
we're gonna have to at some point. There's gonna be an ice cream truck in Cars on the Road.
yeah, I don't know. I think I retweeted some of the images on the chat's Twitter, but there have been some official images leaked of Cars on the Road from like accompanying books and toys and stuff on Amazon. And it does seem like the concept art wasn't like just wild to be wild. It seems like they're going to go meet a dinosaur and like it's fully like computer animated, all that stuff in the concept art. I didn't see the Bigfoot thing, but all the other things I did see. So
I mean, you barely see the Bigfoot thing in the Bigfoot thing.
that's true. You're absolutely right. But yeah, the dinosaur was there, which to me confirmed it's gonna be wild if they just put a car dinosaur in it. If they just put a car dinosaur in it, this is not a Cars on the Road episode. It's a Planes, Fire, and Rescue episode. While we're on the subject of Winnie and Harvey, the RVs who are in love and old, and honestly, genuinely a little bit cute, I'll give Planes, Fire, and Rescue the tiniest bit of a nod about that.
Lucas, before you get to that,
Yeah.
Bigfoot's in the background of the main image.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
That's a
He's
good
just
place.
covered in moss.
That's a good place for Bigfoot to be. He likes to be in the background of images.
Like he's basically in the center.
All right. I don't know what to tell you. I missed it. I missed it. Okay. It's been a minute since I looked at it.
He's wearing camouflage. It makes sense.
Okay. But anyway, Winnie and Harvey, the RVs. The note I have written down here is just Winnie and Harvey are sick with it, which is in their little rescue sequence. I sort of forgot how much of that they just kind of did themselves.
Oh yeah, they were action heroes who were just slightly assisted by the others.
Yeah, like Blade and Dusty were both necessary in their rescue when they are on a burning wooden bridge, seemingly hundreds of feet in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But most of it was just them ramping over and driving expertly on a collapsing wooden bridge.
Yeah, it's important to note it wasn't just a burning bridge. It was essentially a burning, exploding bridge.
Yeah, some of the fire seems in the fire scenes seems like it's doing a lot of exploding,
Mm-hmm.
which far be it from me to pretend I know how a forest fire looks like, up close. But I don't know. I wouldn't imagine there's a lot of explosions, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
the fire was very, very mobile in
Yeah.
this film.
But again, who knows? Maybe that's how fire be.
Who knows?
Firefighters, probably. You got
Hopefully.
another note, Johnny?
I've got several.
Do it.
One,
Yeah.
there was a creature who had antlers that were, of course, a bunch of headlights. If that's a sexual thing, that is a grotesque abomination with a bunch of balls on its face.
I mean, they are at least signifiers of sex in the
Mhm.
animal kingdom, so I don't know. It sort of still holds, but
It's upsetting either way. Doopy says, yeah, they're real.
her fuel tanks at the end of her wings, is that what Dipper says, yeah, they're real about?
Part of her wings,
Part of her wings,
whatever
yeah.
they are, part of her wings, they like drop and hug him, clearly, like without him necessarily wanting it. That sucks. And then she says, yeah, they're real.
Every part of her is manufactured. 100 pieces of her are manufactured. What would be defined as not real?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Because, like, even his crop duster, we can just slap that thing back on.
Yeah.
Even if it's his original, at that point, it wouldn't be, right?
Yeah, I guess maybe it is, like, it's her factory, like, it's what she came born with, maybe? Like, she hasn't replaced it, but even that's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Super weird. So, yeah, don't worry. They're
Alright.
real.
And you know what? I'll say it, they're not real. You're an imaginary character. So,
Mhm.
gotcha, idiot.
And do you know what he sold?
What he sold? No.
Car wash curtain rings.
Yeah. Wait. You don't need a curtain for a car wash.
You don't, unless it's a shower.
But they don't wear clothes. What do they have to be modest about?
The idea of being in a shower?
Seems you've just transcribed human proclivities onto the cars for no reason again. Shouldn't do that.
Yep. But they did.
They did.
And not only did they do that, they defined a man's early career by it.
That was before he was a taco truck, if you were wondering. Or after. I don't remember.
I have to imagine after, because she was a floor model for him, I believe, at that point, which makes no sense.
No, she sold. That was when he was selling tires.
Was when he was selling tires? Okay, so I didn't catch that he sold tires.
Yeah, he did three things: taco truck, curtain rings, and tires.
How much backstory does this one character need?
Not that much, but I don't know. He's one of my favorites in the movie, so I guess that much.
Yeah, and I will be honest, I did care about his life being in peril.
Yeah, so there you go, John. How dare you question Disney Toon Studios?
All right, my last note is just verification, which I'm pretty sure was supposed to be certification and get autocorrected. But how does he get certified?
He's a
He
horrible
straight up breaks
firefighter.
all the rules.
He's such a bad firefighter.
He's such a good firefighter despite doing everything wrong. He just does everything wrong until he gets the job and saves some lives.
That's my thing.
Accidentally doesn't die.
He does a good job once. That's it. And they're like, you get it, man. And like,
but does he though?
Yeah, he doesn't even really. He pushes himself past a point of exhaustion, which he shouldn't because of his condition.
He's got a heart condition, and instead of learning to live with it or learning to adjust and solve problems in a creative way that's different from how he's been doing it, he just does the same thing and should die from it, but doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we talk so much about how much we dislike the character of Dusty Cropopper, but this movie does a lot to make us dislike him more, I think.
Yeah, he really does not want you to like him, I guess. Except if he wants you to like him, you will.
Yep.
It's very upsetting.
He gets everything he wants.
Yeah. He just disobeys every rule that he doesn't want to listen to. Does things that should get him killed. And then, like, again, I said this comparison earlier. They make him Jesus for no reason.
Yeah.
In both movies.
Yeah, he does get resurrected pretty much in both of them.
He does sacrifice himself or be killed unjustly. He gets killed unjustly in the first one, sacrifices himself in the second one, and he dies and then comes back and then is somehow better.
He's better than new, man.
He's better than new.
Okay, I got one last note, and then I think quick general thoughts about the movie, and then wrap this sucker up. My last note is they must engineer these credit songs in a lab to be the worst songs I've ever heard.
My runway romance, gate number 3.
And the one before it isn't great either. That's like, I didn't even, I don't know, the fire one. The Cars 2 one kills me.
Again, I need you to remember that we had to hear these so many times.
No, I know, man. I'm glad I think, I don't think I was working there for Planes, Fire, and Rescue, so I think I dodged that one, but...
I think you might have been.
Because no, I was.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much around the same time.
I wasn't there for Turbo. People constantly talked about how bad Turbo was, but I was there for Planes, Fire, and Rescue, and ugh.
That snail is fast.
We gotta watch Turbo one these days.
Yeah, we've talked about how that's clearly going to be like entwined with this film because there's a squishy bit and it go fast.
And it's even got a hard shell. Yeah, I literally own the movie on DVD because we said it so much. We just haven't done it yet. So look forward to that, probably. Okay, general thoughts on the movie.
It's a very mediocre kids movie with all of the trappings of, hey, we want to do some hero worship, and we didn't have too much time to worry about writing it smartly.
Yeah. Like, we have talked so much, especially, I think it bothers me even a little bit more than it bothers you, about how they could have done something like that was genuinely cool and different about having Dusty deal with a disability or a chronic disease or a condition that could have been so interesting about having to find out how to live your life again.
Lucas, what kind of liberal nonsense are you spreading? All you have to do is work hard and everything will work out.
Yeah, I have made my feelings about that absolutely clear. So this time, just to do something different, I will say a few things that I like about it. I will say something I think we don't talk enough about, because it's sort of weird to think about this being important to these films, is like, these are kind of action-y films, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They have lots of like sequences of action and racing and whatnot. And I will say some of the firefighting scenes are like genuinely pretty decent little action scenes. Like they fly through a giant plume of smoke at some point, and like
that was a pretty gripping scene.
Yeah, like they do some cool stuff with the audio and the visuals. That's like genuinely, like, I think it's because the action scenes are genuinely pretty good is why it catapults above Planes so much for me. Because like I was so I don't care if they were well shot or whatever in Planes. The around the world plane race just made no sense to me. So the action scenes in Planes I did not like because they were tied to the nonsensical race around the world the planes were doing. But in this one, they're actually kind of cool. And yeah, I don't know. For a kids movie, they were really well done.
Mm-hmm. I've praised it before. I think the animation on this one was excellent.
Yeah, like this came out a year after Planes, and I actually agree. I think I disagreed the first time or couldn't tell, but I actually agree with you this time. I could tell a genuine like bump up in the animation quality.
Mm-hmm. I think that some of the people who worked on this film were trying to do a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that some of them just maybe they didn't have the time. I don't know what it was. They just didn't care as much as the other people working on it.
Yeah.
It's got some clear, like, oh, well, that's some weird stereotyping. And, oh, this character just has one trait so that they'll be memorable. Like, oh, look, this crazy space jumper, he shouts every line.
Yeah.
That's his thing. I don't want to die. He shouts that.
He sure does. I don't know. I think that's the best way to sort of put how I feel about this movie is like scene to scene, just if you take out all the dialogue, even just the scenes are good, fine, but the characters suck. And a lot of the plot is especially having to do specifically with Dusty and the arc they take him on, both instantly curing his condition and saying, you're the best firefighter we've ever seen. You did one thing kind of good. That just drags it down so much for me. I am confident saying Cars 2 is above this for me. John, I don't know if I've told you this. Cars 2 might be above Cars 3 for me.
Lucas, what's happening?
I don't know, man. At least Cars 2 is kind of fun to watch. Cars 3 gets so bogged down. But that's a discussion for a different day.
See, I feel like with all of this, saying that Cars 2 is more enjoyable is something I might be able to agree with. But I'm still going to say it's a worse movie.
That's fine.
Because, like, it's depending on what you're watching the movie for. There's so many arguments to be made about quality of movie. But generally, I would say, in the ways that I care about movie quality, I would say Cars 3 is a pretty decent movie. Cars 2 is just a very bad movie. But it's a very good, like, babies watching it movie because, oh, look, fun, crazy stuff's happening all the time. Just don't think about it.
Yeah, I think that might be the distinction for me. I think Cars 3 is a better movie. I think I like Cars 2 more. It's just
That's
more
fair.
Fun to watch than Cars 3.
Yeah, I can get that.
Anyway, this has been a podcast not about either of those movies. Anyway, that's the end of the show. We didn't like the movie again. Sorry. Also sorry because I know it must be wild to listen to these having not watched the movie right before and have us be like, okay, who's the Smoke Jumpers? I don't know.
And I'm really helping by intentionally saying a name or two wrong.
Yeah. But we appreciate you listening to it. Maybe watch the movie or don't. It's a bad movie. What was I going to say? Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really do appreciate it. And we're happy we finally actually did our episode on Planes, Fire, and Rescue, even though in other ways we're very much not happy about that. If you want to send us ideas of what to talk about, you can do so at the Kachat on Twitter. You can follow us and DM us there, or you can email us at thekachat@gmail.com. Both of those are all one word, no hyphen in there, even though it is in the name of our podcast. Now John's going to say his stuff, and Bella's barking about it.
Mm-hmm. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell anyone and everyone you think might be the least bit interested in this kooky, quirky, strange little podcast. And until next time, remember to fly like a Cadillac.
And sting like a Beamer.